Hello and welcome to Trying Times. My name is Carmen, and if you're new here, then welcome. We're pretty much friends now. On the show, I talk a lot about things that can feel nostalgic and comforting or embarrassing and cringy. There's never necessarily an in-between because sometimes, from what I noticed at least, some of the embarrassing bits can bring some form of nostalgia, and revisiting your older, cringy self can also bring some comfort. At least it can for me. I mean, it brings a lot of cringe, but it can also bring comfort. So that's what a lot of the show's about. And this episode is special because it was actually just my birthday a couple days ago. So I am now 27 years old, which is insane to say at the very least, because when I first thought about doing this show, I think I was about 25 years old. So to now, 2 years later, just be doing this and believing in myself to just go for it is really, really cool. So yeah, not to be cringe, but I do genuinely feel really proud of myself, and I don't really think that should be a cringy thing. But yeah, I do feel really proud of myself. And I think if I knew when I was younger that I would get to do a lot of the things I have and get to live through so many cool experiences all by 27, I probably wouldn't believe it. And this is getting very sentimental. But that's also like a fun practice to just do, by the way. If you have never done that or reflected in that way, I would highly recommend it, because sometimes it's easy to feel like crap or not great about where you may be. And I get it. We all face that at times. Sometimes it lasts a very long time. Sometimes it's not very long. But when you think about how excited the younger version of you would be to see where you are now and to meet the version of you that is now here, that's just like an unmatched feeling, honestly. So going off of that, something I really liked to do when I was younger, and something I still really like to do, is spend time watching films and shows. And this is something I've always done. When I was younger, I think a really big thing for me was to find some sort of representation in the things that I watched, whether that was on TV or on the big screen, like in a movie theater. And a lot of the time it felt like there was never really someone that looked like me or that I could totally understand. And I know I wasn't alone in that. On the other hand, it was also this thing where the things that I get to watch in film courses or in English literature classes, like in high school, just never felt truly intriguing for me or inspiring or, got me excited about that concept of storytelling the way that some other things might. So between watching some significantly iconic films to feeling that lack of interest and relatability, I felt like it would be really cool to do a mini series on this podcast that goes through some of the shows or films that feel either comforting or wholesome or just cool to me. And some of the shows and films I'll be talking about won't be necessarily like, I relate to this story 110%, or I can relate to this 110%. But it might just be that I find aspects of the programming or whatever it is to feel comforting or interesting and exciting to see on screen. So think of this as like an introduction episode or an intro episode, and then the next few episodes will be different TV series or films that I'll talk about and just get to dive into a little bit more. And they'll more than likely be mini episodes, not too long, but just enough to kind of dissect things a bit and share my own thoughts about those different shows and films. So there's one thing I can say for sure as I break this into a series. I didn't always know that I would be able to talk to people about film or TV in a way that I've gotten to over the last few years. And it's so interesting to me how it can be so bonding. And it can be bonding for people who are either already friends, good friends, new friends, or even strangers. And in the same way that you can make friends through concerts, you can also make friends through TV shows or movies. I remember once, I think back in 2014, I went to a premiere for this movie called City of Bones, and I was basically waiting by the red carpet to meet one of my favorite actors who was in the movie. And in the process of getting there and waiting and them setting up for this whole event, I got to meet so many different people, and a couple of which I think I actually ended up having on Twitter. But it was one of the very first times in my life where I'd experienced something like that. After that, I never really took it for granted. And the same goes for concerts. I love going to concerts and talking to people, but it was really cool to be able to do that in a different setting. So now, to be able to talk about something in general that I enjoy and I like to analyze on my own podcast is a really cool and exciting idea to me. And it's a thing now. So I just think it's a nice thing in general to know that, one, you can actually communicate with people about this and form a bond and form, some kind of community in this and in really anything. So with films and TV specifically, there are so many fandoms that is literally comprised of a community of people who share love and appreciation and respect for a story. And in part, that can be for characters. In part, that can be for people who work collectively to bring that story to life and onto a screen. And then so many other things. And I think there's something really special in that. So for my 27th birthday, I wanted to introduce a series and bring up some shows and films I like to open that space up for anyone else who also loves the same things, maybe the same shows, maybe the same movies, to either just listen or to feel free to chat with me and be able to relate. So that's going to be it for this episode. I know it's a very short one. Please stay tuned for the next few episodes to hear which shows I choose to talk about. And then also feel free to join the conversation if you want to chat about this episode, what kind of shows you really like, the shows that I end up talking about. Feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram at the Trying Times Podcast or send me a voicemail by clicking the link in the episode description below. I would really love to hear from you about either your favorite TV shows, your favorite films, or anything. And if you could actually share 3 of your favorite shows or 3 of your favorite films, or both, split it up however you like, which would those be? If you're willing to answer that and you feel like answering that, then go for it. Either shoot me a DM or leave me a voicemail. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for listening. I cannot wait to share some of my favorite shows with you. And yeah, that's all. We'll chat again soon, okay? Bye.